fiddle with your spacing today. And I forgot to mention the altos. I still need to voice the two of you. Of course, Dan, you're new, didn't know that, but we just need to set up about 15 minutes to just sing through your register and get a better idea of your voice. Good, so yeah, Dan, if you'll sit there for now. Actually, let me see.
Oh, great.
I'm going to put this over.
Oh, great, thanks.
You can get it on the way out.
Okay.
No heads in it.
What?
No heads in it.
Let's start with this for now. Okay, so write this down for me. I gotta remember the dang letters myself. Friends, this is a new warm-up we're gonna use. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Yeah, you'll want to write it down because it's kind of a long phrase. People have had trouble memorizing it. And the second phrase is our consonants must be clean and crisp. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp.
I don't have a piece of
Oh, yeah, it's okay if you write on the top of the music. What's that? I got friends. Okay, friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. And so this exercise is to really work on the Dracula speak that we've talked about in some of these past rehearsals. Exploding through the consonants crisp and cleanly.
Crisp and cleanly?
Right, well, actually, that's not the warm-up is our consonants must be clean and crisp. But the way I'm explaining it is, and I'll sing it for you. So, it would be, let's see, starting here. We do friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. And then we do friends, so sing it with me. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good, so make sure that we have, everybody remember what a shadow vowel is? That's when we have we sing on the end of a consonant. So it's and a crisp. Well, we do it quickly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp, Okay, so try it. Let's start with friends. Ready? Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Good. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. And listen to our consonants. Our consonants, con is longer. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good, so let's try that again. Get rid of, we have an R in here, and that's for a reason, and I don't want to hear it. It's not clearly, but clearly. It's important to vocalize clearly, right? Try that for me. Ready? Friends? Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Good. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. You got it. Good. Now we're going to do this standing, and we're going to just fiddle around with the our positions. So let's go ahead and have, if you'll stand in 2 rows with call M and J in the front, you can just come around. We're going to sing through a couple of these and fiddle with the positions. And actually, let's go ahead and switch. Let's see. No, let's do it from here first. Friends, ready, and friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good, let's do another one. Friends, I'm sorry, let's sing it big and full, right? We're not at the top of our register. Let's go a little bit higher, because we're tenors, at least most of us. Friends, ready? Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Good. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good, let's do it right there again. Friends, ready? Big sound. It's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp.
Can you play it one more time? Because I think I'm missing consonant.
Yeah, so listen, I'll do it one more time. So it's friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. so, and I will send this out, I should have done this in advance, but I was still trying to pick the words. I will send a recording for everybody to just listen to this and make sure that it's memorized. Good, let's go ahead and change, oh shoot, I forgot who it was. I'm gonna listen to it again. Friends and friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. That's really actually pretty good, but let me just switch Paul and Dan.
Which Paul?
Omar.
Okay.
And let's do it here. Let's see. Friends, ready? Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good, that's good. Let me hear the next one. And friends. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. I like that. Good, so that's, yes, Paul.
So I feel kind of, you're fine, you know.
Oh, because the height situation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer, I know, but what we'll do, and I did not do a good job of this at the last concert, is making sure that we had windows. So if we're spaced the right way, that's not going to be an issue.
Okay.
But I don't like to place you based upon the look. It's more important about the sound, how the voices line up. And so that's a good sound. So we're going to keep that. So Paul, O, Dan, Eric. Sorry.
You can play center on our basketball team.
Okay, great. You can have a seat.
choir
Let's look
intramural
at Double Trouble. Good. I got 2 voice parts in the voice today. I don't know if we're going to have all the bases.
I think we do.
Do we? Okay. I know Greg's not going to be here. Of course, he's not doing this concert.
Right.
But yes, so if you'll sit in your, so front to, well, that's fine. There's 5 of you. Why don't we put you over there? That's good. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so Double Trouble. That's what we're going to work on. We might have time to get to Creep. Let's fix a couple things first. Tenors. So, bottom of page 2, and as everybody sees, the page numbers are very small in the corners, and they alternate corners. So page 2, measure 12, that staccato quarter note, you can go ahead and consider it an 8th note. This way comes, right, comes right off. Oh, and I should have said, first, on page 1, measure 7, your fire is going to be fire burn. Right, so you say on the ah, and then right before you move to burn, it's fire burn and call. Right, the sopranos and altos are going to move it earlier, fire burn, but you're not going to do that. So just fire burn and cauldron bubble. Okay, continuing on. And tongue of dog, that is correct. That's all fine. So same thing on top of page 5. Same thing, fire burn and cauldron bubble. You just hold that ah all the way until you move to the burn. One of them is a little different. Cauldron bake. Page 7. We're going to say fillet of a snake. What's that?
I don't have.
Can you give me measures, because I don't have the numbers.
Okay, so we have an extra one that Jay can borrow for now,
I see.
and the page,
Oh,
yeah, they're
they're
just
tiny.
teensy at the bottom, I know.
Only on odd pages.
Only on,
Well, and they alternate corners,
Oh, they all take.
right, so every one of them has it, it's just the even
Jay,
numbers on
you don't
one
have any of
side.
these?
All
I
numbers on one side.
I think, well, I don't know how many there are. I have like 4 that you gave me last time, but I don't see anywhere in there this one.
Okay, so we'll make sure, and, Paul, can you give him your notes afterwards, when we have the bassist coming in, because he's gonna be behind on these notes, he doesn't have the music yet.
Oh.
Actually, you know what, I can email it to you. I can email it to you to make sure you have it, that'll work. So, continuing, top of page 7, 41, measure 41 is fillet of a snake, it's not fillet. We're gonna do it like the English do, fillet of a snake, okay? Go double, double, toil and trouble. It looks like, so all of your fires in this piece are going to be like we've already demonstrated, except for the top of page 10, last page. It is written out fire, burn, and cauldron. And so we will do it as written. Fire, burn. Everything else is fire, burn. Okay? So, that should be everything. Let's go ahead and get notes from the top. And so, tenors and basses, this beginning part, I'm sorry, it's just tenors for now. But the tenors and basses are sort of this drone sound, right? So we want a very, right, very hooty sound, breathy sound, not a lot of vibrato, very straight tone, okay? So just let's learn these notes together and go. Double toil and trouble, fire and cauldron trouble. One. Double toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Good, yes, and comes, that's an eighth note. Good, let's do it again. Let me just listen to you. Ready? And go. Double toil and trouble, fire and cauldron trouble. One, and double toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Good, so we have the notes it looks like. Now we're going to change from measure 10. Now I found that we're on different scores, but everybody should mark from measure 10 to the end of measure 12 a crescendo. The way most scores are marked is either A, there is no crescendo written, or B, it just crescendos to measure 11.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're going to do. We're going to crescendo all the way to this way comes. Right? So try that for me, measure 9. Ready, double, and go. Double toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Yeah, that's it. Good. Let's do the whole line from the beginning. And I'm going to sing the bass part, and what I want you to, we're going to, of course, have the duet practice next week with the basses. Does everybody know, has anybody heard of the overtone series? Right, so I'll explain it. Some of us know, some of us don't. So it's notes that are sympathetic, that sort of ring, even though they're not there. And so human voices can make overtones very easily, especially when singing fifths. So it just has to be perfectly in tune. But basically, actually, let me show it on the piano. Everybody come with me in here. It's a very cool, neat thing. Gather around the piano.
Oh, gather around the old piano.
So, this is an example of the overtone series. I'm just going to press down this C. I'm going to bang this one, and you're going to hear both C's. Here it is also. Right, there's sympathetic pitches. So that's what happens when it's perfectly in tune and you're in this overtone series. So I say all that to say when we get together with the basses, and I'm going to sing the bass part now, there's just got to be this perfect blend, and it sounds like an organ. Almost no solo tone. It's very much, we have to be a section here, right? So sing for me double. Just sing double, just double and go. Double. Yeah, you hear that buzz? That's what you think of when you think about barbershop quartet, right? It's just that buzz and that. So in the beginning of this piece, that's what we want.
Oh, my mom loves those, yeah.
You have feeling we're just thrown with this overtone series. Okay, let's go back. I'll sing the bass part for now. Actually, I'll just, y'all will do it next week when we get to the duets. Let's continue with notes. And let's add one more thing, and that is the line of the piece. It's double toil and trouble, double toil and trouble. Right, so it's lots of toil and trouble. Just do that for me, go. Double toil and trouble. Good, continue. And fire and cauldron bubble. And this is 1, Do. Yes, that's it, good. Ready? Continue at measure 9 and go. Double toil and crescendo, wicked this way comes. Yeah, good. I like it. Let's continue learning notes. Page 3. I and toe of frog. And I want 2 F's there. Actually, it's a V and then an F. Of frog. Of frog. Right? And tongue of. That's another shadow vowel. And tongue of. Okay? So let's just get the notes. I. Ready? 2. I and toe of frog. And tongue of. Yes, and tongue of. Okay, let's do that again and we'll continue. Measure 15. Ready? And. I and toe of frog. And tongue of. 1. Dog and blind was seen. That should say on the C sharp. D flat.
Okay, mine does do this.
It actually writes the D natural. That's weird. I wonder if mine's the one that's wrong there. Because it actually goes to a B minor chord. B. Yes, so I would say that is supposed to be a D natural. Good, so we found another one. Tenors and basses in measure 20. Some of your scores may already have this, but if it doesn't, sting is a D natural. Blind would sting. Okay. Okay, so let's do that from measure 19. Dog and dog. Dog, measure 19. 1. Dog and blind would sting. Continue. And so tenors, we're going to have you take this up to the high A flat, but Paul, Miracle, is she Miracle?
Yes, miracle.
Beautiful. If you'd like to take the A flat, that would be fine.
A flat.
The low A flat, the way it's written. It's kind of low for the tenors, but if you want to take the low A flat, you're welcome to. Toil and, but the rest of it would be toil and. Okay, so tenors, just change that A flat. And actually, all tenors, if it's in your range, 'cause I think Paul also has that note. Both of those. If it's too low, change it to the high A flat, because that's kind of low for a tenor. All right, so let's try blind worms sting, and then toil. Hey, Jeffrey, how are you?
What song are you doing?
We're doing double trouble, but if you will not sing, you're welcome to listen. But
Yes.
we're on page 4.
Thank you.
Sure. So blind worms sting. Ready, tenors, go. Blind worms sting and toil and double, double, toil and trouble. Is that supposed to change? Wow, we got some different scores here. So it is in the left-hand part, but I would say they should stay on that C sharp, because that's what the basses are doing too. Wow, but that chord is B flat. It's actually like a G. C sharp, F sharp, G sharp. It's like F sharp minor.
It matches the accompaniment with C sharp in one note and one voice and B flat in the other.
Because it's like an A sharp.
So yeah, so it's like an F sharp triad.
Right, so then it should be in the basses, not the tenors. Do you have it in the tenors?
Yeah, but see, there's C sharp and B flat.
Right, so
C
that
sharp
should
and B
be-
flat. It's exactly the same here as that.
Right, so if we're gonna use that, let's put it in the basses. And keep the tenors where they are.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay, so tenors, if you don't have it in your score, it should be toil and trouble. Those are all 2 notes. C sharp, D, C sharp. C sharp, D, C sharp. The basses can change their note.
Oh.
Right, so some of you may have, I think we have 2 scores out there.
Um,
But in measure 23, toil is a C sharp and a D, and is a C sharp, And the same thing for treble. C sharp on tra, up to a D, and then back to a C sharp for treble. Toil and trouble. Okay? So, okay, good. Now that that's clear, let's go measure 21 on toil and double, double. Ready? 1. Toil and double, double, toil and double. Good, let's continue. Page 5, measure 28. Actually, this is the same as the beginning, so let's skip to the bottom of page 6. So we get that B minor and the G. And this is measure 39, ready and go. In the cauldron make 2. Oh yeah, we're going to continue. Yeah, so starting at measure 39, we're going to read through this whole section. Okay? And ready and go. In the cauldron make 2. Fill it of a snake, scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. 1, 2. Mommy, and golf. Good, that's it. Let's go get all that again. Back at the bottom of page 6. And so again, big consonants here. In the cauldron bake, bake. Fill it of a snake. Right? Let's try that. Ready at 39 and go. In the cauldron bake. 2. Fill it of a snake. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. 2. Mommy, and golf. Good, yes. So make sure that's dragon, tooth of wolf with a V sound. Tooth of wolf. Right? Good, let's continue. Top of page 8, right where you come in. So the rhythm's a little different this time. Make sure that you're counting. So right where you come in, ready, and double, double, toil and trouble, and fire burn off, and double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. 1. Double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. And something wicked this way comes. Yes, and that's an 8th note there. Comes and right off. We will take the repeat in measure 65. That goes all the way back to the first page. So we're going to do this whole thing twice. But we only do those last 2 measures the second time through. Right? So let's go back and get all that again. Let's see, page 8. So those accents are going to be done like this. Bottom of page 8, measure 52, would be 1. Hard, right? Hit the front of it and then come back. The tone doesn't disappear completely, but it comes way back. We just want to hear the beginning of it. Do that for me. Measure 52. Ready? 1. Fire, burn off. Yes, good. All right, let's sing the whole thing for measure 48. Ready? So 1. Double, double, toil and trouble off. Fire, burn off. And 1. Bubble, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron bubble. 1. Double, toil how those slurs are done. Those are phrasing marks. It's not bubble, but bubble dum, bottom, bottom, dum, right? The first 16th note is emphasized, the second one de-emphasized, the third emphasized, fourth one de-emphasized. Okay, do that for me, measure 55. Ready, and double, double. Yeah, good. All right, we have 2 minutes. Let's go back and do this whole thing and see how much of that we remember. And don't forget the phrasing at the beginning. Listen how I do it. Double, toil and trouble, fun. Right? Word accents, word stresses are very important. Okay, right at the beginning. And double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. One. Fail, toil and trouble, coming wicked, which way comes. Good, yes. Next page, 15. 1, 2. I am a frog, and tongue of one. Dog and blind were sing off. Toil and double, double, toil and trouble. Good, next page, 27, measure 28. Ready? And go. Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. Good. Fatal, toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Good, and you did it right. It's not marked away measure 35, but we're going to do it exactly the same. Accent staccato, so that's essentially an 8th note, right? This way comes. Good, we're at 4:30.
Trouble, some people were singing an A there, trouble.
That's what we have. Toil and trouble.
Okay, I am
What measure?
I would say measure
Change it to
33.
an
Yeah, I like the A
now. Yeah, I do too.
because the
Because the sopranos do it.
sopranos do it and the basses and altos have their duet. So, toil and trouble. So continuing, let's just get this last little section, measure 39. So actually, can you play measure 37, the accompaniment? So we kind of repeat what the sopranos and altos do. Oh, sorry, just measure 38. Do you have the same thing as me? Yes. So they do in the cauldron, we do in the cauldron bake, and continue. Fillet of a snake, scale of dragon to the wolf, and continue. Mommy, mom, and golf. Okay, good. Thank you so much, tenors, for your work. I will see you next week. We have the tenor bass duet, which will be able to get a lot of things. Yes.
Not here next week.
Not here next week. Okay. Thank you for letting me know.
Yep.
All right. Basses, come on in. Tenors.
Get the hell out.
See y'all later.
Okay, next shift.
Next shift.
Next.
Thank you. Great work.
Moving on.
All right. Basses, come on and see you guys later. So basses, let's have you. Are we gonna have all the basses today? I think we are. Right, so let's have you, do you remember where you were standing for the concert?
Mm-hmm.
I can look it up, you were on the, right,
Last place.
Well, I was backward.
oh, back row, right,
You
yeah.
were back
I was
last
in the
place.
queue, I
Back
was
on the last place.
And where were you?
I think I was second on this one.
On the, second on the front line?
Second on the front.
Third on the front line, you were in the concert.
Moving back here.
And so Greg was missing. Okay,
Alright.
so actually for now, let's have a seat, we can do the standing second. Everybody grab their pencils and write these lyrics down.
Sheriff? He was the one that was sitting by
Ready?
Has everybody met Jeffrey?
Oh, sorry. Jeffrey is our new baritone.
Hello.
Jeffrey.
He came to the concert and he voiced with me the next day. He's just a role model. Also meet Dan. Dan is singing tenor. He's from my church choir. Listen. Okay, so we have a new word that I want to start using at least pretty regularly for a while. And here are the lyrics. You're going to want to write it down because it's kind of long. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly.
That's,
Yep. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. And then the next line is, our consonants must be clean and crisp. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Okay?
Clean or clear and crisp?
Clean and crisp. Clean and crisp. And so these are the things that we're looking for. At the beginning, friends, it's important to vocalize clearly, and not clearly, but clearly. Consonants, and it's consonants, that's a schwa at the end. Consonants, not consonants, right? It's a de-emphasized syllable. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Does everybody remember what the shadow vowel is? That's when you add a little syllable after a consonant to make it more clear. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. And we actually sing the d and crisp quickly, right? So let me do it on the keyboard. Slide through here. Actually, yeah, sorry, John. So for the bases, we're going to start here. So we go like this. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clear and crisp. And sorry, continue. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you stand in your rows, and I'm going to try to voice you. Let's start the way we were for the concert. And Jeffrey, if I can have you stand where, let's see, how do we want to do this? We will. We'll have, so let's do 2 rows. So John's here, then Larry. Michael, if you'll come up. And Jeffrey, if you'll stand in the middle of Eric and Tom. Okay.
I don't want to come between you two. Break it up.
Okay, so this is what I want. Lots of tone, so when we sing this, it's not, it's important to, right, there's a disconnect of the tone. It's important to vocalize clearly. All tone, 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 all the vowels, and I want a big sound. As large of a sound as you have, okay? So let's give it a shot, friends. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Good. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Good. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. That's pretty good. Awa, yes.
It's clean or clear?
Clean. Jeffrey and Larry, switch places for me. Same thing, friends. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Good. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. Let's switch back.
Musical tenors. And chairs.
Can I have Tom and Michael switch places? Let's do another one. Let's do it a little bit lower. Sorry. Let's do it here. Friends, and big sound. Ready? And friends, it's important vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. So make sure that that rhythm stays clear, because it's hard for me to listen to the voice. Da dee da dee da da dee. Right. Let me go that. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Your turn. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Our consonants. Just do that. Our consonants. Now the whole thing is our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. Do the from the bottom up. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. John and Eric switch places. Same place. Friends and friends. It's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. Michael and Eric switch places. Same thing, ready? Students here. Friends, friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Good. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good, I like that. Let's do the next one. Friends, it's important to vocalize clearly. Our consonants must be clean and crisp. Good. I think that's a winner. Okay, so let me write that down. And if you'll remember where you are, that is. Michael. Oh, wait, I want to go back there first. Eric, Jeffrey, John, Michael, Larry. Okay, you can have a seat, and why don't we have the front row move that way? 1, 2, 3, and then back row move this way.
You're gonna have it in Kansas, so
Yeah.
have it in the back.
Okay, good. Okay, we're gonna look at double trouble rather. Looking at notes. All right, we got all the voices except for sopranos. That is wonderful. We'll get sopranos another time. Okay, from the beginning of double trouble, let's point out a couple of things before we do it. So, at the beginning, measure 7, fire. You're going to hold the ah all the way until you move to burn. So it's fire, burn, and fire, burn, and. Okay? The sopranos and altos are going to move theirs earlier, so don't let them throw you. They're doing fire, burn, but you're doing fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. Okay? Then if you look at the top of page 2, some of you have a crescendo marked in measure 10. If you don't, regardless of whether you have it or not, there should be a crescendo from measure 10 all the way to the end of measure 12. We're not going to just stop at something wicked this way comes. It's toil and troubles, something wicked this way comes, all the way out. It's crescendo. And then measure 12, last note, let's just consider it an 8th note. Okay, because it is staccato, so you might as well just consider it an 8th note. Continuing with notes, top of page 4. Some of your scores may already have this, mine doesn't. Measure 20, sting is a D natural. C sharp. Blind sting, blind sting. Right, so that sting should be a D natural. And it may already be being marked in your scores. If it's not, make that change. Then we have toil and trouble. Then at measure 23, basses, you should have, yes. So trouble, the first tra, that 16th note should be a B flat. Toil and trouble, toil and trouble. Okay, we have that. Good, continuing. Everything's fine on the next little bit. In the cauldron bake. Page 7, measure 41. We're going to say fillet of a snake, not fillet. We're going to do it in the English style. Fillet of a snake. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Yada yada. Then basses, top of page 8. Last measure. That should be the same as the first time. Double trouble. Right, my score has a B flat on that second time, but that is not correct. Double, double, they're exactly the same.
So it's a C.
It's a C both times. Okay. Then that's the same throughout. Fire, burn, and bubble, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, cauldron, bubble, bubble, tip, tip, tip. And then if you look at the top of page 62, that is going to be a different pronunciation of fire. It's rhythmically different. Fire, burn, and fire, burn.
I mean, page 10.
Yeah.
Page 10, right, measure 62, sorry. Fire, burn, right? Before we were doing fire, burn, and. But this one it actually writes the rhythm out, so let's do it like that. And then you see we have a repeat at measure 65. We will repeat all the way to the beginning and do the whole thing again. And the second time through, we'll sing the last two measures. Only the second time through, okay? So let's go back and sing through this. Running notes. Toil, trouble, ready, beginning, and go. Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. 1. Double, toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Good, let's look at that again. Sounds like you got it, just the rhythm was a little funky at the beginning. Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. Your turn and beginning. Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. 1. Double, toil and go. Okay, let's fix a couple things. So, fire, burn. We don't want fire, burn, and, right? Fire, burn. It's like that Dracula speak we were talking about. You can't chew through those consonants. And it is fire, burn, not burn. We don't want the sound, but burn. Fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. Okay, so let's fix that first, and we're going to add a couple other things. Ready, beginning, and. Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn. Yes, I'm still hearing that chew. Fire, burn, right? Watch me for the cue. It's fire, burn, beginning, and go. Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn. Yeah, I'm still getting the chew. I think it's from you, Tom. Fire, burn, but fire, burn. For you, I would say don't even think about it.
I know.
If you just say fire, burn.
Okay.
Because we're still going to get that R. There'll be a pentatonic.
You're swinging up, right?
Well, we're not sliding up, no.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
that cue may be confusing, but it's fire, burn.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you a different cue.
Okay.
Beginning and go. Double, toil and trouble, fire, burn, yes. Cauldron, bubble. 1. Double, toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Good. Now, last thing before we leave that, and that is the phrasing is double. Right? Da is big, bull is less, and then toil and trouble. Toil is big, tra is big. The and bull, those are thrown away. So listen how I do it. Double, toil and trouble. Your turn and go. Double, toil and trouble. Continue. Fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. Good, now this part is a fade away. When we go up in our voice, it tends to get louder. What I want is 1. Double, right? Not double, but double. Right, try it for me and go. Double. Good. Now do that and continue through the crescendo. Let's go ahead and make it a breath. I didn't say this in the other sections, but breathe after trouble on that page. Dull, toil, and trouble. And then something wicked. Okay, so sing that for me, measure 9. Ready, 1. Dull, toil, and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Yeah, good. And that last note you can really pop it. This way comes. Right, pop that diaphragm. It's a shout. Right? Good. Learning more notes on measure 15. I am so ready, 2. I am so of a frog and tongue of 1. Dog and blind and sting. Good. So a couple things about that. It's I and toe. Right? We have a shadow vowel there. I and toe of. The F is a V sound. And toe of frog. And then of frog has a V, then an F. Of frog. And tongue of. And a tongue of. Sorry. And a tongue of. So it has a shadow vowel for and then a V sound for of. Tongue of. Right? Dog and blind worm sting, make sure we get that M in for worm sting. Okay, whole bunch of things to do there. Let's give it a shot. Top of page 3, measure 15. Ready, and. I and toe of frog, and tongue of dog, and blind man sting off. Toil and double, toil and trouble. Yeah, so listen, play that again for us, Marjorie. Just measure 23, just listening. And your turn and go. Toil and trouble. Right, so all of those D's can be thrown away. Toil and trouble. Not toil and trouble. They're at the top of your register, so you want to sort of shout them out, but use a mixed voice there. Toil and trouble. Right? Throw those away. It's just the C sharp that I'm interested in on toil, and the B flat on tra. Those are the notes that I want to hear. Right? Everything else is thrown away. You give it a shot. 23 and go. Toil and trouble. Good again. Toil and trouble. Yeah, good. Continuing. Actually, let's get all that together. We'll move on. Measure 15. 1, 2. I and toe of a frog. 1 and a tongue of dog and blind and sting off. Toil and double trouble, toil and trouble. Good, yeah, so we'll need to work on 23 a little bit more, but I'm going to move on. Before we do measure 21, bass is low A flat. Remember what I told you about any note that sits on that bottom space and below? Sing it out. Right, it's so low in the register that we're not going to hear it very well. If you aren't comfortable with that A flat, if it's kind of low for the register, go up the octave. The tenors are doing that, right? One, sing, toil, and you can do toil. You can go up to the high A flat. But if you have the low A flat, really dig it out. Like, right, Tom, you got a big sound there. Michael, too, just really naughty. And then you have to back up when you come to the next note, and. It's not toil and, but toil and, no. Right. Good, let's try that from Blind Worm Sting, and we will move on this time.
I have a crescendo on and.
Yes, but I would say that's mostly for the top voices. And actually, you know what? I think that does go on there. So basses, that means you can sing and normally. You don't need to back it away. It'll naturally crescendo because you're jumping up in your register. And then you can crescendo and into double, because that is forte for the next part. Yes, thank you, Marjorie. So let's try that measure 20. Blind worm sting. Ready and blind worm sting off. Toil and trouble, double, toil and trouble. Good. Let's continue. The next section is the same, so let's actually go all the way to page 6 at the bottom. Yes, in the cauldron bake off. Okay? Ready and go. In the cauldron bake. 2. Fillet of a snake. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. 1, 2. Mommy, golf. Good. So all those notes are correct. Just make sure that I get all those consonants. Fillet of a snake. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Right? So let me hear you do that at measure 41. Fillet of a snake. Overdo all your consonants. If it's too much, we can always come back and bring it back. But in general, we want a big consonant. Okay, measure 41. Ready? Oh, sorry, what's that? Yes, ready and go. Fillet of a snake. Good. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Good, so listen to tooth of wolf. Tooth of wolf. It's tooth of, right? Tooth of wolf. Scale. Let's do scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Actually, listen to me do it first. It's scale of dragon, tooth of wolf, thove wolf. Your turn and go. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Speak it and make sure we're getting in rhythm. And speak. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Yeah, so some of us are closer to the too early. Dragon, tooth of wolf. Speak. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Yeah, now sing it. Scale. Scale and go. Scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Good. Continue and go. Mommy, and go. Off. Good. Let's continue. Measure 48. The rhythm's a little bit different from the beginning, so don't let it throw you. Ready? 1. Double, double, toil and trouble off. Fire, burn off, and off. Bubble, double, toil and yes. So we're back to the beginning. A couple things about that section. 1, measure 52. That is accented, and this is how we're going to do it. It's 1, fa, right? We hit the front of the note, and then the sound backs away. It does not stop. Fa, and then the same thing on the next one. Burn, but burn is shorter. It's just a quarter note. The first one's tied to an 8th note, so it's 1, fa, burn, off, right? Off on 1 on the next one. And then the other thing is measure 55. Look at those slurs. It's ba, bo. The first 16th note is louder than the second 16th note. The third 16th note is louder than the fourth 16th note. Bubble, not bubble, but bubble, dog. Right, good. Let's see if we can add all those things, starting at measure 52. Fa, ready? 1. Fa, and burn off. And up. Bubble, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron, bubble. 1. Fade away, toil and trouble, fire, burn and and something wicked this way comes. Good, right, and that's an eighth note at the end, which you did perfectly. Excellent, let's do this whole thing from the top.
I noticed we say come and everyone else says comes. The last word. One says come, no S at the end.
That's right.
But the sopranos say comes.
So what happens at the beginning? Double cauldron bubble?
Some in this.
I think it should be comes.
Yeah.
Right, 'cause that's right.
Yeah.
So add an S there. Thank you, Jeffrey. I did not catch that. So tenors need the same
This way
thing.
come.
Comes.
Comes.
Add an S.
Something wicked this way comes. Yeah, right. So it's good. Okay, let's do it from the top. I know we're just working notes, but try to remember as many of those phrasing things that we discussed as you can. And if you can kind of watch, I'm giving them to you, right? Most of my movements have some kind of meaning. If I do this, that means it's a stress and a back away. You'll see that a lot. Double toil and trouble, fire, burn, cauldron, bubble, lean back, lean back. Okay, beginning and double toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. One. Double toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Good. And then the next page, 15. Ready, and I am toe of a frog, and tongue of dog, and blind worm sing off. Toil and double trouble, toil and trouble. Good. Continuing to the next page. I keep saying trouble, but you're doing it right. It's double, double. Okay, measure 28 and go. Double toil and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. One and double toil and trouble, something wicked this way comes. Good.
That come to, comes,
Comes also. Yeah, and before we move on,
comes also,
comes also with an S. Those will always be comes.
except the end.
And it's also at the end with an S. And
Oh,
the
you
end.
added S.
We're adding an S at the end.
Well,
Yeah.
It was written as.
So yeah, so we have different scores and some of us have different things.
On this one, the soprano alto has comes and the tenor bass has comes, so they just messed up.
Right. It should be always
It's
comes.
always for both, right?
Right. So while we're stopped, measure 30. I'm getting that R in there. Double toil and trouble, fire, burn and burn and burn and. We don't burn and, but burn and. Just sing burn and. Ready? And. Burn and. Again, ready? Burn and. Still hearing a little bit of R. Same thing. Burn and. Yes, burn and. Good. Let's continue. Bottom of page 6. So if you can give us just the measure 38, Marjorie. And in the cauldron bake 2. Fillet of a snake, scale of dragon, tooth of wolf. Good, and go. Mommy, ma, and go. Good, that's mommy, ma, and go. Sing that for me, and mommy, ma, and go. Yeah, somebody's moving early. Mommy, ma, and go. Your turn. Mommy, ma, and go. I don't know, what is a ma? Does anybody know what a ma is? I didn't look that one up. I looked at the adder's fork, which is some kind of
Adder
poison
is a
from a
snake.
snake. That's right, it's the adder's a snake. I did not look up ma. Well, we'll look it up and we'll find it out. Hopefully it's nothing too dark. Okay, measure 48. So let's continue. Just wrap this piece up. I know we're 2 minutes over. Ready, and double, double, toil and trouble. Accent. Fire, burn, for an hour, so we'll get some of these sounds, we'll have a better understanding how they fit in with the rest of the group. And thank you very much, I will see y'all next time, great work. Thank you, Marjorie, I appreciate it.
I'm out of
Alright.
next week, and then we're gonna follow him, okay?
You're out of town next week, okay, great. See you, Jeffrey.
What time are we next week?
So I believe you're 3 to 4.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right. No. You're 4 to 5. Sopranos and altos be the first hour.
Okay.
Tenors and basses are 4 to 5.
Yeah, we did not know that.
It's my understanding.
Okay, thank you for reminding me. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I understand. Let's do it. We all enjoy ourselves. Okay.
It's gonna be.
Yeah, we'll see y'all
It's
soon.
Thursday?
It's not.
Alrighty.
So we're still choosing between two dates. Studio City. It's the 23rd.
Yeah, I was confused.
What's the word, Anthony, you wanted to know?
I think I saw.
Mall.
M-A-U?
M-A-W.
Oh,
That's
I was thinking it was a bird.
And then we're choosing between two dates for
the
studio.
jaws or throat of a voracious animal,
Ah.
a gigantic wolfhound with a fearful gaping maw.
Ah.
And a golf.
Okay. Thank you.
Mall and golf. We had over 60.
And
so
golf?
watch out for mummies.
16?
Oh, it's Shakespeare.
Oh,
Those words are Shakespeare, those are from Macbeth.
Audience.
Oh, okay. Do you know what golf is?
But the people before.
It's not talking about like the
Golf.
like from.
G-U-L-F?
How do we get
Yes.
comparison?
We did
I
well.
was just
Nothing
saying it's
wrong.
like, part of the land.
Killed my
Like the
bees.
Gulf of Mexico.
Up and down, up and down.
Oh,
Yeah.
what I
Let's
would
see.
put down, better going back.
Gulf, the deep inlet sea. But then there's the Persian Gulf, deep
You'd rather
ravine,
stand the whole
abyss,
time than sit the whole time.
chasm.
I was surprised.
A large difference or division between two people or groups.
Yeah.
Different viewpoints. I don't know.
Okay, I like abyss, chasm.
Yeah. So how's it used in the thing?
Something maw and gulf. It's just a whole bunch of creepy things back to back. It's like what it is.
Okay, well,
Let's see.
anyway.
Yeah. Dragon, tooth of wolf, mummy, maw, and gulf. A maw and a gulf. Okay, well thanks everybody. Thanks for being here, Dan.
Small
So-
and small and
well, there's a couple things I'm looking for. So, different people have different vibrato. So generally, you want heavier, quicker vibrato to be separated by lighter or no vibrato voices. And there are also just certain tones that just want to come in a little too much. And we don't necessarily want that. So there's a couple different things. But
Okay for now.
it makes a difference. I mean, just making those few changes, the sound is more unified. That's what you're really going for. It's a more unified sound.
I think they're still
Also, miraculous.
Oh, so
mentioning that.
yeah, so I'm talking about that some in I think we missed those rehearsals. Oh, Dracula speaks like this.
I do.
Right, so he explodes through the consonants and goes right to the mouth, as opposed to slowly pulling just off of Ventura. So pulsing is important that you slow through the consonants and get directly to the vowels, right? So that's what my choral mentor would call it, driver to the spot. So, and when we do that warm up, it's important to dot and dot.
We'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
Okay. Oh, that's right, you guys are here.
Yeah, I sent an email to Nancy, I'm not gonna.
Family birthday.
Oh, okay.
Cause I gotta be in Bakersfield at 10 o'clock on Tuesdays.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we'll miss you.
Okay.
Keep working on it, it's a tough work, so.
So the one thing about changing all these notes while we're doing this,
Oh,
is
yes.
now none of it's gonna match the rehearsal videos.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
That's
So,
okay.
yeah, I just went through and caught these today as I was looking
I
through
know,
it.
and then, yeah, right, and what are we gonna do? But
Okay,
I'm
do it in
gonna
advance.
I'm gonna need a list of it, I should
Okay.
write everything down, because I'm gonna have to go in and change them in the music program and then re-record them and put them on YouTube again.
Okay, I'll send it to you today. Sorry, I didn't even think about
No,
that.
it's not your fault, I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, but
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised that there's so many. I mean,
we
But I guess-
found, we tried, so what you have is the original.
okay, so
We tried to make, because we found mistakes and made corrections, so that's what most of the people have. But some, I guess, still downloaded the early ones, so they.
Okay. Okay.
We try to catch them as we get them, but. we
Yeah.
don't always do it.
Yeah, okay, well, good. Well, so that's funny about the 6-year-old. I hope that they weren't upset about it.
I think the mom was upset. She just wanted the girl to come and, be able to learn from us, and I said, but we're not here to teach.
Yeah,
You kinda have to start
Yeah,
out
that
knowing
makes-
what to do.
yeah, I agree.
I said, I'd love to do a children's choir, I'd love to, have, that, but that's not.
Yeah,
She was just like, she's one of those little kids that listens to, pop songs and memorizes them and then just screams them.
yeah, okay. Well, she probably has some talent, but it's.
Yeah, no, the voice is there.
6 is.
But I don't think she's had any vocal lessons at all.
Yeah, yeah, it's someplace for that, so I'm glad you took care of that. Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.